nanotechnology. They've identified it as something they can consume.
So, Dr. Maynard, what is nanotechnology?
Well, I think to explain nanotechnology you need to understand two things. The first is that nanotechnology is dealing with things which are incredibly small.
And a human hair is 100,000 nanometers thick.
Now the second thing I think you need to understand about nanotechnology is that it's a way of controlling matter to make it do what we want it to do.
Why nanotechnology is important is because at that scale, interesting and novel properties emerge when you manipulate different kinds of materials.
Researchers say building things atom by atom or molecule by molecule will revolutionize the production of virtually every human-made object.
You will be assimilated.
It's no wonder the tiny domain of atoms and molecules is catching on.
Initially, when nanotechnology was first sort of coming into the mainstream, so to speak, during the 1990s and the early part of the 2000s, there were a lot of science fiction scenarios that were out.
First, the individual is injected with nanoprobes, microscopic machines which attach themselves to the victim's blood cells and begin to immediately rewrite the victim's DNA.
We created tiny robots called nanites to patrol her body and repair the damage. Sabrina injects herself with 3 species of these synthetic organisms.
The idea really came from somebody named Richard Feynman, who in the late 1950s, he said, wouldn't it be great if we could create synthetic molecular motors, so nano robots, which can use various chemicals in our bodies to generate energy and therefore can traverse the body looking for diseases. Since they generate their own energy, could then fight those diseases if we're able to program them correctly. So you would essentially have these entities in your body that would treat any kind of disease that would ever happen.
There are in fact a number of nanotechnology consumer products that are already on the market that use various kinds of simple nanomaterials. Wilson has a series of tennis rackets that use nano-engineered materials. The khaki pants that are stain resistant from Gap and Eddie Bauer, in addition to a number of nano-engineered coatings that are used to make materials antibacterial and germ-free.
We've already seen there are some incredible things that nanotechnology might allow us to do, but we've also got to think about what the dangers might be because this is such a new technology.
Israel is trying to create a robot no bigger than a hornet that will be able to chase, photograph, and even kill its targets. An Israeli newspaper reports the bionic hornet is being developed to fight terrorists. The flying robot will be based on nanotechnology. It will be able to navigate narrow alleyways to target rocket launchers.
Nanomaterials are harder than conventional materials, in particular metals. So certainly you'd have more destructive weapons that could be built.
The nano-enhanced super soldier possesses abilities and tools unsurpassed by any military technology in the world. Anticipatory projectile deceleration predicts and protects against a variety of gunfire. Spasmodic restabilizers snap fractured bones back into place and form an instant cast around the injury.
Nanomaterials are completely natural. Mother Nature makes them in the ground and we have them in us. So in that light, we think we're mimicking natural tissues better than these micron structures. We don't really have micron grain sizes in our body or micron particles. They're all nano. After our initial experiments in which we put nanomaterials in bone, so we would make this titanium implant out of the same chemistry that's being implanted today, only it would have nano components. And we would see bone growth occur in rats, for example, 4 times faster. And the versatility of this seems to be quite exciting. For stroke, we took stem cells and carbon nanotubes. We put them in rats which were induced to have stroke. We allowed the rats to walk on treadmills. And we saw that they were able to walk after 1 week with carbon nanotubes and stem cells. With just the stem cells alone, it took 3 weeks.
One of the things that make nanomaterials so exciting is that they're small, they have different structures to get into different parts of the body, which is great if you're trying to deliver a cancer therapeutic directly to a specific cell. Unfortunately, that property may not be so great if you're trying to keep a nanomaterial, for example, on the skin using a sunscreen, and it begins to translocate through the body.
You know, one of the big things that come up that we have to address, you know, we should have addressed it 5 years ago, is toxicity. And really manufacturing nanomaterials. How safe is it? There are really very few safety standards we can fall back on what to do.
The community needs to recognize that and get together like we did with genetic engineering and say, hey, you know what? We need to sit down and start thinking ahead.
But this is a problem that's not specific to nanotechnology. It's a problem that's specific to any kind of emerging technology, where in many cases the innovation rapidly precedes the oversight system.
They're unlike any threat your Federation has ever faced.
Your culture will adapt to service ours.
Prince Charles said nanotechnology is going to create a green goo across the world, and I think his message was, we don't know what all these nanoparticles are going to do.
Cybernetic creatures from the future who tried to stop his warp flight, their ultimate goal being to enslave the human race.
Exciting prospects, but they also point out the promise of nanotechnology can only be realized if we
Cool.